of this transforming the mind. I'm a bit nervous now. Sorry for that. Okay. The words realization actually reading this book and then this chapter, it gave me a lot of insight to of my daily life. I mean, my life journey until now. So in my slide, actually I pick up a few lines from the books. Okay, pick up a few lines from this book, and then which I feel that is meaningful to be to mention it. So in the in the chapter, they master this mention about life is impermanent. You know, everyone is fearing their death, and then lifetime after lifetime, we keep on accumulating a fiction. So though reading by just a sentence like that, then what do you feel? Then maybe I will just elaborate a little bit on my understanding. So we are not, most of us are unenlightened ordinary being. A lot of ignorance and stubbornness, which is, I think, to be honest, I myself got a lot. I got a lot. Okay, I will feel this is illness in my heart, in my mind a lot. We always see people mistake, but we can't see our own mistake. I would take this what I call it, this example. Take this example whereby uh, in my I'm a part-time student previously, so whereby I have all this stubbornness and ignorance because I keep on failing the final exam. Tends to blame on so many things, so that not enough time to study, I need to work, I need to take care of family, so on and so forth. But actually I never actually look at my own weaknesses and mistakes. I tend to blame here and there. Well, then I keep on suffering from the failure lah, of course. Can't get the exam, can't pass the exam. So there is one day that my brother is also studying a part-time, my younger brother. So I tend to ask him, hey, how do you get your exam passed so fast? Then he studied textbook, whereas I study those revision textbook, which is much simpler. Then I did one thing that changed my mind. I talked to the mirror. I did actually talk to the mirror. So this is what I try to reduce my ignorance. When I talk to the mirror, I talk to the person inside the mirror. Then I ask the person, whose problem is this? What is your weakness? Do you willing to change it or not? So I will say today, a lot of people, ignorance and stubborn, attached to ourselves a lot. Especially now, we do a lot of do a lot of charity visit, home visit. I find it that the mental problem among the people nowadays a lot. People are very stubborn. People are very ignorant of the the COVID that actually happening, you know. So I will feel that this is realization. Maybe I will touch this more later on at the last part of my slide. Then in the books also, I also take this caption. What is the value of life then? Then if there are lots so much of suffering, what is the value of life? So by reading it also, you will see that, I mean, stay is easy. How to simplify our life, we cultivate compassion, eliminate fictions, purify our mind. And then, I mean, how to understand all these things. Then I also look back a little bit, step back a little bit and looking at my own life. Maybe I will share a little bit of what actually my understanding and my life on this. Um, those days, I having a lot of my relationship with my dad is not so good. So he has passed away 6 years ago. But on and off, I keep on dreaming about him, seeing him in my dream. So I would say, hey, what is this going on? Something is going on, you know. So in other words, it's like my mind is not settled. my mind is not settled. I have a lot of these things hindering me. So I'm taking the step to eliminate this. Okay. Later on, I will also touch back on this slide later when come to the last one, after I finish off the slide. Then in the books also, there are this example, given an example by this, it's a story taught by Buddha, the human king and the deer king, the lion deer. It's around 1.5 page in the books, in the chapter. So they are talking about this human king, which is would like to have a deer meat as a dishes per day. So this the deer king, what he did is that he offer instead of the king asking the hunter to go and kill and create chaos in the jungle, the deer king say, might as well I offer to you 1 day 1 deer for you to eat. So when there is a day come to the pregnant deer, the doe, so this pregnant, this doe asked for this deer king to actually postpone her killing until the baby is born. But somehow or other nobody offered to take her turn. Then this deer king offer himself to be killed and to be eaten by this king. And then after hearing that, actually the king get very moved. But why his act of generosity? Why he willing to sacrifice his own self? Then the king actually repent and then said he's not going to kill and then to protect all living creatures. Which the dear king actually mentioned a few things to the king, the human king. When you are destroying life, this is not called compassion. Taking what is not given, this is not generosity. So why this what they call that, this story being told in the book is that like actually is go back to the sixth realm of existence. He touches on that Buddha appeared in all six realms. Then in that particular story, he appeared as as an animal. As an animal, instead of pursuing pleasure, he actually hoped that he could help sentient beings transcend their suffering by what they call it, by offering himself to be eaten by the king. So all these things that I reading through the story, that is a very exciting story, but it gave me a thought that hey, aren't we become too ignorant sometimes? We keep too many things to ourselves. So especially now we are doing this charity visit in Malaysia. They are in Selangor especially, so we can see a lot of suffering in the sense that these people have their income affected by the COVID. Then we have do a lot of home visit to actually assess their situation. So what I can learn from all this home visit is that one thing for sure, I actually treasure the words of Kanan, grateful. Until today, I can see that actually my life has not been much affected. Whereas these people, I think I got one family in the sense that he is a Malay family. He applied for so many what they call that to so many organizations for helping for AIDS, for financial aids. But then I told him, do you get any response? He said only Tzu Chi give him a response. Then when we visit him, the time he feels like he give me the feeling that he is in a dark room. When we went there inside, it's like a torchlight. It's a small torchlight giving him some ray of lights, some ray of light. So it give me the insight that generosity is like you're willing to step out and actually realize it, that actually your suffering is very simple compared to others. So it helps. it helps to purify our mind, which is, I think later I will bring back to this slide, how to simplify our life and then eliminate our fictions. So then I came across that I do some studies, some reading, and I noted that in the sixth realm, we are now in human realm. Actually, in this realm, we are we are the one which is we have our choice for our future, which is in the other realm we are being like rewarded or punished for all our past doing, but only in this human realm we able to change our future. So I'd like to elaborate a little bit in the sense that we are all, what is luck and destiny? For example, some people are born with, we said, good luck in a good family, the good family, then they got a lot of money, got a lot of assets, this and that. But some of them are born are so poor. So destiny, we always blame destiny. We always sometimes go to look at our palm, the palm reading, why we are destiny in such a way. I would say that destiny is not our choice. It's a situation that comes to us. We never choose to be in this situation. It just comes to us. Whereby I cannot choose my parents. I cannot choose my mother. I cannot choose to be born in which country. It comes to me. But one thing for sure is that I have a choice. I have a choice. If I choose my choice properly, I realize it. I realize I choose my choice properly, I can change my future destiny. So what I'm trying to say here is that after reading this human realm, then I realized what is life in the first slide just now, what is life after life. And then it seems like we are keep on coming back to this school. We call it Earth. We keep on coming back here. There seems to be a message, the meaning of life, the value of life. It seems to let us come back here and learn something in each time for us to bring back to some other, to the next one, so that we don't actually consistently trap in that cycle, or we are trying to get out from that cycle one thing at a time. So that's what I've been trying to understand. So the simple human deer and the what they call that, the human deer and the king deer. So what is the generosity? It's like we are using all these day-to-day activities of Tzu Chi and then learning the Dharma to eliminate our affection and purify our mind. What I'm trying to say is that like just now I bring back to my dad problems. Actually, my mind at time is so stubborn, so ignorant. I'm so self-centered, But now he's away. He went to another dimension, which is why it keep on appearing in my dream after 6 years, on and off. So I've been thinking, my own mind is not settled. I have to keep walking this path and keep on my realization to eliminate all this affliction. Sometimes we are too stubborn. We always want to be right. We always stick to our opinion. In the offices, in the school, or wherever what we're doing, we always feel that we are right. So when we feel that we are right, other people are always wrong. What I'm trying to say is that we have to learn to, if I given a chance, I would want to say sorry to my dad. I want to say sorry to him, maybe in the next dimension. Sometimes it's why I want to say sorry doesn't mean that I'm wrong. This phase I learned it from someone else. When I want to say sorry doesn't mean that I'm wrong, but I treasure the person and relationship far more than being right. Actually, you have a choice. all of us have a choice. What you want to, you want to be right or you want love. If you choose love, you have to learn to say sorry, even though you know you are right. So all these are realization, even though this is called a fiction. Then that's why reading the sentence, it seems that the master taught us how to reduce affliction, purify our mind. But if you don't walk the path properly, we don't detox our mind. It's very difficult to understand all these phrases and how to actually do it to purify our mind. So I'm taking this one step in the sense that I know walking the path is on my own pace. It's not urgent, but I need to be quick and fast because it is important and the clock is ticking. I hope that I can able to say this is the word sorry to the man I call father in the next dimension. I then throughout all these activities of Tzu Chi actually give me a chance. I'm very blessed to actually learn how to detox my mind properly, because you see, we we stick to our opinion too much. Sometimes our stubbornness, we keep on go to the pharmacies, to the hospital to detox our body. We got a liver, got a kidney to detox our body from the system. We got a very perfect system in our body, but do we have a system how to detox our mind? Which is, I don't think so. Only by doing spiritual training and cultivation, we able to detox our mind. So this is, I want to say that it's like in this human realm, we are so much blessed that we're able to do something. We're able to choose our future destiny. Oh, so this is what I try to, what I can learn from this chapter. So this realization, what is all, I mean, in a very short. So it's like those high blood pressure medication. If you don't take it on a daily basis, the affliction will come back. The high blood pressure will come back. So what I'm trying to say is that we have to, on the daily basis in our daily life, cultivate and put it more and more into our daily life, so that we can comprehend, complete, have a compassion, no judgment, no prejudice, patience, because we got a lot of prejudice. So this, and then we must also respect we are not alone here. We actually have to depend on others to survive, which is, I think, this COVID also, we are too ignorant of others sentient being, other human being, other people feeling, until now it jumped to human, is so-called unstoppable now, which is what's going to happen next, nobody know for sure. So this is my short sharing, and then my understanding and elaboration of this chapter. I feel that this realization is to realize, to reduce our stubbornness, our ignorance, and then purify our mind, so that this is what human realm, why are we here? We always come back to this school, I will say. Hopefully the next school I will learn more. You might not learn all the thing in this lifetime. There are always things to learn, the next one, until it is no more to learn. So that's my short sharing on this chapter. Hope is able to what they call that, to bring out the gist of this chapter. So that's my sharing for the day.
Okay, thanks to Brother Kaihwa for your sharing on this chapter. Yes, indeed, I think it is very intrigued. I was very intrigued by your story about your father, about dreaming about your father. I think it's definitely, like you said, you know, when you began to talk to the person in the mirror, you weren't just talking to yourself, you actually were talking to the man inside. And I think that was probably your mind attempting to tell you something. And I think exploring that, I think, is very important. I do want to get into what Brother Kaihua also get into, because I think the eighth realization explores what Brother Kaihua said and more. And I wanted to start with the story about the deer that Brother Kaihua also mentioned. When I read the story, I think there were a couple of points that jump out at me that I think we all got, which is eventually the king, the deer king, was able to saw this and was able to, because of the mother deer and refusal to go on her turn due to being pregnant. And the next deer, the next one in line, all share that they value their lives very much. So it was up to the king, the deer king, to make that sacrifice. But I think the story, there are more part to this, and I wanted to bring out this part. First of all, I think it takes this is not even leadership. This is beyond leadership. This is complete trust in that when the deer king mentioned this plan to all the deers, that they were willing to accept. Okay, and I think this is already tells you that to be able to guide the populace, to be able to lead the group to believe that this is the right thing to do. Okay, I think it takes an extraordinary faith. Now, in our society, we could have someone who lead people for goodness, and we could have someone who lead people into doing something bad. That happens, right? That tells you that this deer king has that too. That he was able to convince all the deers that it is okay, that it's just part of nature, that we're all one day going to die anyway. That's just life. So we might as well use it to do something meaningful. Okay, and so for all the deer to believe this king, I think, okay, let's not say if it's doing the right or wrong thing, but to be able to lead, it tells you that there was a lot of affinity. Otherwise, why would the deers follow? Why would the deers follow this king? Okay, so that's the first thing. And the second thing was, this is perhaps the part that I found to be the most amazing part about the story, not the ending, okay? But while doing this, the king, the deer king, said to all the volunteering deers, or the one that lined up on their turn, and I want to quote this. Let me see. And I want to quote. He said to all the deers that you should see this opportunity, that when you go in front of the king, the human king, when you go in front of the human king, you must remember, stick your mind to the three treasures of Buddhism, and to vow and to wish and to take refuge in the three treasures. Okay, so the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Take refuge in them. So this is the deer that is about to be slaughtered, okay, willingly, okay, and the deer king asked the deer to remember and take refuge, and so that hoping that the next lifetime we'll be able to achieve and liberation of our lives. And I think this is something that is telling us something, okay? Out of all these 8 realizations, this one, using this story, is encompassing all. It's telling you that we are going to see and be confronted by something that we cannot stop. You could either go in willingly, or you could go in fighting. Now, by going willingly, it's not just to wait for death. Going fighting doesn't make you any more courageous because it has the same outcome. And the hunters will come and slaughter anyone. But rather, we are prepared because we're ready mentally, spiritually, and we understand that there's no stopping. Okay, so this is telling us that through this story, that how you could be prepared mentally to face something that is so big of a challenge that you cannot overcome. Right? This is life and death. There's nothing you can overcome. And you volunteer. You line up to volunteer for today. So that's going to be your turn now. So then you go on. You go in. It's your turn. And while you're facing death in the face, what do? You take refuge and you say, I'm going to keep this positive mindset. I'm going to take refuge in the Buddha and the Sangha and the Dharma. And I am going to wish and vow that maybe in the next lifetime, I can be liberated from all of this. And I accept this willingly. You know what kind of courage this actually brings out? This is exactly what Master said, right? 甘愿做欢喜. So there must be something in the past that sets us on this path. And now that we're on it, so we accept it willingly. Whether it, probably to us right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense, like lining up to die. But whatever it is, they accept their path. And they go in and they accept it willingly. Okay, so I think there are these two parts in this story that I found that I think it's very, very worthy for all of us to go back to the story and not just looking at the result, at the ending, at the parable ending, but rather looking at the process. And you imagine, if it were you, or if you're in a place, if you're like the deer king, what would you say to the deer? If you were the deer and you were asked by this deer king, what would you do? What would take for you to do the things that the deer did, which is to believe the king? Who would it be to tell you that it is your turn to sacrifice and that you're willing to do so? When you put yourself in the shoes of the deers, it makes such huge difference and make you see so many truth in the story than if you were just to read it and you think, probably that's all we need to read the story. So that's something that I want to bring up. Now, the other thing was, okay, so following what Brother Kaihwa also said, talking about the value of life. And the chapter started with talking about something that I think we're all very familiar with. Talked about, we all know what is the right thing to do. We all know that we have the Buddha nature. We all know that we have the wisdom of the Buddha. And we all know that we have the afflictions that we need to get rid of. But we don't do it. So you know, and you don't. You know, but you don't. You don't do it. You know the fact. You just don't follow through. And that's the problem. And that's the problem. So Master talks about that being on the path of cultivation starts with self-love. And how do you self-love? How do you love yourself? Is to follow the teachings of the Buddha. Okay, and it also talks about that the practitioners are the perfect mirror, the mirror that reflects who you are. Okay, you see the practitioners, the cultivators, and then you go like, oh, I want to be like that, but you're not. And which part are you missing? And that's the mirror part. Okay, you look at them and you go like, oh, that's what I want to be, and then you elevate yourself to get there. So I think that was very important, and Brother Kaihwa also mentioned about that, and talks about the stubbornness that people are. It's very difficult right now, especially in this world. People, because with all the knowledge, with all the instant access to Google, that you're able to right away know some of the very, used to be very difficult to know knowledge that takes time to seek and therefore you would cherish. But now, because it's so easy, it's hard for us to cherish. We just realize, all I need is my phone, and all I need is an internet to get to Google to find out. So I think being stubborn and being very sort of know-it-all is a byproduct of this society, of what's happening now. But Master is telling us that we could do better. How do we do better? Well, I think that's what the latter chapters is talking about. It's not just about yourself, and it introduces the other element, which is the whole community, the whole group, the whole mass. And I think that's when this chapter changes the tone. It talks about life and death. It talks about the body. It talks about the pain and the suffering and the affliction. But the moment it introduces the others that are also in pain, that are also in need, that are also suffering, and then it tells you that helping them is what give our lives the value. The moment it tells you that, that's your answer. That's the answer that we've been all looking for. It's not just to get rid of our own affliction. That's part of it. But the other part of it is, how do we also benefit others? And so teach the same teaching to them. And I think that was the key to this eighth realization. It's not just to see the shortfalls, our shortfalls, but it's to go from our shortfalls to see, well, what can I do about it? And then realize by helping others is the perfect way to make up for all the shortfalls that we have. So I think, as what Brother Kaiwa said, so there's this ignorance and stubborn and all of this. And that's when you also mentioned that by going on to home visits, that it makes you cherish and treasure all of this. And I think this is what you mentioned. By taking on these missions, that's when we begin to detox our mind. So great vehicle. So this is going through the eighth realization. The great vehicle is to help yourself and help others. To help yourself, you must first begin by helping others. And that's the true detox. Even though the actual detox begins after you help others, that's when you help yourself. But that's the entire process, that's the entire process. It's more like, you're breathing in, and when you breathe in, you take the oxygen out of air, and you put in the carbon dioxide into the air, and you breathe out. So it goes back into like the chicken or the egg, right? Because you need oxygen and you breathe out carbon dioxide. Now, is it first you take out carbon dioxide to feed it to the plants, so the plants can feed you the oxygen? Which comes first? Do they give out oxygen so that you can give them carbon dioxide? Or do you give out carbon dioxide so that they can give you oxygen? So whichever one it is, it doesn't really matter. It's the same cycle. There's only one. You don't split it from any other parts. So you don't say, oh, let me do this first, then I do this other thing. It's actually one thing. And then it's called the greater vehicle. It's one thing altogether. Helping yourself, helping others is the same, one and the same. So you don't go like, oh, let me do this only. No, it's not in parts. It's actually one and the same. Okay. So very interestingly, just for tomorrow, there was a question that was asked. There's some people that says that the three vehicles were categorized in the future, well, not in the future, but after Buddha's nirvana, after Buddha's passing, it was actually categorized by the future people, by the latter people. And I would like to say that yes and no. I think it's the schools. It's the Mahayana and the Theravada. These are the schools of thoughts and teachings that are categorized later. But I think the vehicles themselves were already there. It was very evident in the Lotus Sutra. It talks about the three different type of vehicles, right? There's the sheep and the deers and the cow, and the ox. So they're already talking about the different vehicles. So the vehicles themselves and the schools are actually two different things. The schools are later formed and categorized, but the vehicles were already there. Okay? So I think here we talked about the greater vehicle, 大圣, the greater vehicle. We're talking about what's the meaning of the greater vehicle? It means one thing, okay? Cycle means help yourself, help others, help others, help yourself. That's what it means. So I think that's for this chapter, the most important message being that how do you give your life value? Well, by being a living bodhisattva, which is Renjian Pusa. And that's what Master has been taking us on this path for the whole time. So thanks to Brother Kaihua for your sharing. And I think once again, I encourage all of us, like me, I'm gonna go back to reread the story about the deers. I think there's so much more in there. It's not just about how the deer king actually, because of his own sacrifice, well, he didn't really sacrifice, but he was there. By being there, he already made the king, the human king, felt remorse and wanted to change. I also wanted to say that, what made the king, the human king, want to change? It was the appearance of the deer king, right? But it's not. If the deer king was the first to sacrifice, then perhaps the human king wouldn't think so much as to, change himself. He would probably just think that you're just such a bad king that no other deer wants to follow your lead. So it actually happened for many, many deers to sacrifice. And then the deer king showed up. So without the accumulation of all the deers beforehand, the showing the appearance of the deer king wouldn't have made that much of a difference. Okay, so that was also very important. I think a very important realization that every little bit of things that we do in life actually count toward this. So don't underestimate and don't count any less of all the sacrifices of all the years before. And obviously the one that was pregnant, right? The mother that was supposed to go, that was also the key driving force. And then it makes you wonder, why wouldn't the deer king go a little bit sooner? Okay, well, I mean, with just all these reasons, right? Okay, so all these are the things. And what really made the deer king click, if you go back to the story, what really made him click, it wasn't the mother. The mother petitioned to say that I am pregnant. So if you're taking me, it's the same as taking 2 lives. So can I wait? The king agreed, but he asked the next one. And the next one says, well, I'm supposed to be for tomorrow, and I have 1 more day. And I cherish that. So that was the tipping point. That was the tipping point for the deer king to want to do something different. Okay, so I'm just pointing out these small things from the story, that there's so much more that we can actually get out of this story, that it makes the story very, very interesting. So that's what I wanted to share. Just by reading the story, I think it tells you a lot more about the affinity, about how the deer king was able to do this, and about the human king, about how all these things actually interacted. Okay, so that's my feedback, and thank you, Brother Kaihua. And I must also say thanks to all of you, because I think we're finally come to the finale of the 8th realization. And I think in the past weeks, we've gone through the entire, the eight of them. And many times we're able to look at the whole big picture. I think whether it's 8 or 7 or 9, I think it's telling us the same stories. It's telling us the same realizations that we already know. So why are we still learning this? Why? Because we haven't gotten there. We know, but we haven't gotten there. And maybe, just maybe, by taking in more, it helps us break through whatever that was hindering us. So for Brother Kaihua, you realize that it's probably something that is hindering you, that it keeps on, that this happens 6 years after. And then something you mentioned that also very moved me was you feel sorry, not because it was wrong, but it's just because that you treasure. And I think that was very touching, and I think it wasn't because you're sorry for something that you did wrong, but it's just that you were sorry. And I think that was a good reaction. That was very genuine. That was very moving also. So thanks to all. And that sort of concludes our 8 realization. And I think by next time that we meet, we should be going to something that is more akin to what we do every day, which is the recap of the daily Dharma talk by Master Cheng Yen. Okay, thank you. That's my sharing for today. That's my feedback. Thank you. Is there anybody that would like to add on to what was said today?
Sorry, Mr. BroJoe.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yeah.
It's Chin here.
Yes.
Maybe I could also share another story. I think this was a lifetime during the time of the Buddha. As I understand it, he was then, one of his lifetime, he was a prince. And during the time, actually, they were hunting along with their brothers. And obviously, he being a very compassionate being at that time, obviously he wasn't interested in hunting, but had an interesting encounter. And what happened was he saw a tigress, and it was scrawny, and it was very clear that he was starving. And along with the tigress was her cubs. And feeling great compassion, and there was nothing for the tigress to eat. So what happened was, at that time, he actually, and he was willing to offer himself to be the meal for the tigress. But he realized that the tigers are so weak, and how could he offer his body to feed the tigress? And because if the tigress couldn't survive, the cubs would also die. So what he did was that he actually jumped off a cliff so that his body can be smashed and offer for the tigress. And that's also the other side of the story that relates to the pregnant deer. Now, interestingly, there is a site in Nepal, which supposedly that's where it happened. So if you all have a chance to visit Kathmandu, it's somewhere up on the hill, and that was where he sacrificed himself during one of his past life, which is similar to the story that you had.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Brother Chin. So have you actually visited that site?
Yes, I've been there twice.
Okay. So that's where. So it was actually there was a monument there.
Yeah, there's a monument. Obviously, there's they built a tigress there with the cubs, and people would make offerings there. But it's not one of those things that it was one of his past life, and it was believed that's where it happened. So that's the other story, very similar to about the deer. And I think it is just the innate nature of compassion that has been built over many lifetimes. So after lifetime, he came back to have the innate compassionate nature. And I think not just the compassionate nature, I think it's the bodhicitta. Because compassion and with bodhicitta is the state of wanting to be enlightened with compassion. So that has been built over many lifetimes. So I think sometimes when I relate back these stories, then you'll be wondering, wow, how many lifetimes, not just about cultivation, but lifetime about having the bodhicitta in your heart to be enlightened. That's and relates to what Master was sharing in Sin Fa Xiang about, I think this morning, that the journey is far and wide. So you'll be wondering how many lifetimes there can be to make that body, to have that bodhicitta to perfection.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Brother Chin. Indeed, I think sometimes it does feel that it must take a very long time. I think just look at us. If you believe, and I with today's technology, I think we probably, most people agree on the idea of evolution. Now, if we agree on evolution, then you would think that, wow, it must be taken a long time for all the things that we have in our body to work just right. I think it's the same idea, that in order for, if you look at our cell structure, if you look at some of the, chemicals in our mind, how it balances one thing to counter the other, to make it so that we feel certain ways. In order for all of these things to work right, and if it's all part of evolution, then it must take a long time and so many trials and errors to make it just right.
Yeah.
So on the other hand, it would be the bodhicitta is the same idea, that it must take a long time for something to grow, to be, enlightened, to be enough to, manifest itself and become something of an actionable thing. And so it must take a long time, but we usually don't see that, right? We only see the outcome. We see the result right now, right?
Yeah.
We see where we are right now, but we fail to fathom just how long ago, or appreciate how much effort that it takes to grow and advance and evolve through all of that. And I think Buddha was trying to, in a way, share with us that it takes a long time, and there's more to go, but I think it's really difficult to find out, to appreciate that, because we just don't see it. We, with a very, very limited mind and idea of time, we just can't see just how far that is.
Yeah. Yes, indeed, we got a long way to go.
Right. So, okay, bro. Thanks, Brother Chin. Always very insightful. Anyone else that would like to, or Brother Chin, or anybody that would like to share or continue?
Yeah, anybody would like to share?
Can I just share?
Yeah, sure. Sister Sharon?
Yeah, I just want to say that you mentioned about the this 8 realization is like to help. The key things is to help yourself is by helping others, and then make you realize that's how we can do better, because when you realize that actually you are the one who is in pain all the time and all that, and you don't go out and help others or see others in pain, you always feel sorry for yourself and not understanding why you are the one who's in pain. I find that this is very true, because when I was sick, I was really sick and not knowing I'll live or die at that time, and I was a bit I try not to be angry, but there was a point of time that I felt a bit unfair, because my children were so young, and why happening to me and all that. But anyway, I got all right, and after that I came out to help others and be a cancer companion to other cancer patients. And when I did that, I actually realized that I'm so much better than so many people. I'm so lucky to be alive. And even though I was still in pain, but when I see other people even in more pain, that makes me feel like I really want to go out and help others. I want to do it, and I can do it, because I just suddenly realized that I'm actually not that bad at all. you know. And this comes to the 8 realization that I've been learning. So if I don't go out and help others, if I don't see it, I probably still think that, oh, I'm the one who is like a victim. But actually I'm not. I should be thankful and to be given the opportunity to see, to go through the journey, to feel the pain, and then go out and help others. Then you realize that actually, you know, I'm very lucky. Like I'm this, you know, that I want to be there to help others, and I feel good when I do that. I did that. I felt really good, and it actually helps me ease my pain, and my mind and my body. All suddenly, all the pain go away, even though I was still on 11 medication a day at the moment. But I don't feel the pain so much because I was just too busy for helping others. You know, like I go to hospital three days a week to be with the cancer patients, and I forgot about my own self-pain. I only start feeling the pain when I start lying down at night, like when I don't do anything. When I lie down on the bed, then I start feeling, oh my gosh, the pain is there. But when I start doing things, I don't feel the pain. And day goes by, every day is like that. And actually, I feel like I'm still alive. I'm still living. So if I continue doing all this, I actually feel really good. And yeah, this is just my sharing.
Thank you, Sharon. You know, your story is always very powerful. And you're always someone that we look up to, not just because you've gone through the journey, but you have gone through the journey and you learn and gain wisdom, and you're sharing that wisdom. And as you're sharing that story, it makes me think more about the story that we're hearing today, which is the deers. And I think that the deer king, the king of deer, actually is on that lottery system as well. Okay. And he knew that his day will eventually come too. Whether it's sooner or later, he doesn't really know. But he knew it was also on that line. But what he did, and I really believe that even though that's not part of the story, what he did was to help all the ones that are happening before him. And I think that's the same thing, right? Where it's all gonna come to every one of us, right? Everyone. Whether we go sooner or later, it's going to come to us. But by helping others, obviously he's got a lot of wisdom, but by helping others to realize, hey, don't feel so bad. Hey, when you go there, when you stare at the king, feel and think about taking refuge in the 3 jewels. And then let's make the vow that we reach liberation and enlightenment in the next lifetime. You know, he's counseling them. He's telling them, this is what you do to find courage. This is what we do, and it's okay. So that's almost like what you were doing, right? You were there, and these people are in worse shape than you, right? We don't know when we're gonna go. Whether you're sick or not, it's the same thing. We're on the same lottery system. Whether you're happening today or tomorrow or years later, we don't know, just like the king. The king didn't realize he was going today. He was all of a sudden realized that, oh, the mother was pregnant. Even though the mother should probably tell them a little bit sooner, not the day. But anyway, that's just, you know, small parts of the story. But the king, the dear king, realized it was today, and the mother wasn't going to go. So then that's when all the things change, right? So all of a sudden it's him, right? It's like the impermanence. You thought it's not going to come to you yet, but now it's today. But all the things that he had done before was to console everybody. And I think that was, you know, when you mentioned your story, that just made me feel like you were that king telling every deer to have courage. Go there. And it's not to hate. It's not to feel like, you know, it's because of you that we're dying. No, we're going to die, all of us, naturally, or however it's going to happen. But one thing that isn't going to change is what we're going to take with us. And so I think he was teaching everybody to plant that seeds into our 8th consciousness right before we go. You know, this is what Brother KaiHwa said, right? We get to choose. We can pick. And all the things that you were doing to help the people that are in worse shape, you're helping them. And I think that was very important. Okay, so I just thought that, you know, this story, I think there's a lot deeper than any one of us here. And just listening to your story make me also think that there's a different part of it also involved with that.
Because Master always say, like, even you're sick, just smile and be happy. Like, you accept it and you be happy and smile. That's why I always tell these cancer patients, I mean, some of them couldn't make it and I actually see them go. But I always tell them, like, just be happy and smile, just appreciate every day. And often in fact, all the time, I will share some Jing Shi with them. I just leave it on the board. There's a board next to their bed. And just a word of courage and all that. And always encourage them, like, to come out and be a volunteer to help others if they make it out of that room. So I just just make us appreciate, like, we must go, you must go among people, and then you see other people's in pain, then suddenly you feel like, hey, you're not that bad at all, we can do it. And then even your pain go away. That is when I just think, like, it's really, really true that when you help others, you are actually helping yourself. And even at the hospital, I always tell, like, smiles and laugh is the infection that you want to spread at the hospital. That's the only infection disease that you want to spread in the hospital. That is a smile, or that you can put out every day. So we smile a lot. That kind of.
Thank you, Sharon. Like, your smile right now is really bringing out the sunshine, even though it's after night already. It's at night. So thank you, Sharon. I think that really has a very good finale to it here. So I think we're coming to 9 o'clock, and it's about bringing it to an end. Is there anybody that would still like to share? And if you do, please seize this moment, this opportunity, as we're coming to an end. If not, then that will be it for today. Anybody?
Hi, Joe.
Yes.
Maybe I can just give
Yes.
a short little sharing. I'm actually Eric from Johor Bahru.
Yes.
Because myself, I'm actually basically in Tima. I'm actually part of the Tima team in Johor Bahru. Very often when I face patient, especially patient in the palliative care, and especially towards to the, I should say towards to the hospice kind of situation. Sometimes even like our case as a volunteer, I'm no doubt I'm only a volunteer. I'm not a medical person, but being working in a hospital for a long while, sometimes it's very difficult when you start to spiritually sit together with patients and really getting the patient to say, are they ready to let go freely, to say that things things that they have been facing especially grievances and so on. I think it's quite tough. In fact, yesterday was also one of the case that I sat in. It was actually a liver cancer patient. Starting to see the patient turning yellow, whole body, and even doctors is coming on to say that situation is not well and so on. So I find that after learning this whole entire realization, no doubt suffering is one thing for sure, but really getting ourselves to be very prepared to take it up, and actually also at the end of the day to be able to learn the process of letting go. I really find it very tough, even myself as well. It's not a very easy process of able to do so. Because meanwhile, I'm still trying to understand a lot from master teaching in terms of, what is we call the natural way of, transforming our mind, and at the same time also, I should say how we can actually overcome our own mind in order to, at times take things easy and let things go. I find it very difficult, actually, indeed. So maybe I can hear from some of you and as sister and brothers as well. So probably Joe, what is actually your advice? And so on. Thanks.
I think it would take a very wise person, because I think, Eric, you're already you've gone very far, being able to see that. But for me, just to see the people that are truly going through suffering, what really got me when I see the suffering is I keep on thinking, could I have made it easier? Could I have made it better? The focus is not me. The focus is on make better. Is there something more that I can do? That I think that's very important. Imagine if you weren't there to try to provide the consolation that you have, or whatever it is, or maybe it was SisSharon who was trying to, on the patient's, last breath to share Jin's aphorism or whatever it might be. If you weren't there, would it be better? Now that you're there, were you able to make it better? And the reason why I mention this is because I believe that there are two parts to this. One is that we are actively trying to make, to improve, that certain things are inevitable, right? It's coming, it's inevitable. But if they are able to have some seeds in them, that it's going to turn, and then you feel that we're actually trying to, we did something positive for them. Just like all the people that we're helping, are their lives returning? Well, not yet, but we're going to try hard, right? Same thing. But on the other hand, there are those that even if you come in contact with them, that you can't change them. I could only say that that's because I don't have the right affinity with them. And therefore, even I'm there, even I have the power to physically provide help, but I couldn't do anything to their spirituality. And the only thing is, well, let's wait for the future. Let me plant this good seeds. Then in the future, perhaps there will be other opportunity where I can plant the seeds of cultivation also. And I think that's what Master is looking at this also. This is a very long haul. It's a very long run. Don't recede, but always advance. How do you advance? What you just shared with us is already something that's very wise. That's already very, very, very wise. And how do you go from there? By making yourself, pick yourself up. Don't feel down, but rather know that you made a difference. Know that out of all the things that, this is just a train that couldn't be stopped. But while you're on that train, you did something valuable because you planted that seed. Whatever you did, you made that person feel that someone cared. You make that person feel that maybe there's light, there's hope. And I think that's valuable because this is as Brother Chin said, we still got a lot more to go. So it's a long process. And I think it's a growing process too. And so I think, it's that's where it's beautiful. Not death, but the process. It's going to happen, but what we do with it. So with our lives, right? We all know that it's only going to come to an inevitable end. But whenever Master sees us, wisdom grow and cherishing our lives and doing the right thing, she's happy. That means we're changing. On this inevitable train, we are changing. Even though it's inevitable, but we are changing. Okay, so I think, first of all, I think a lot of praise goes out to you, Brother Eric, for your work in the palliative care and also, your compassion. And don't look down on yourself to see that, you're already a teacher. You're already a teacher among us to share with us, to teach us. Now, because you're already teaching others, those that are most needed. So thank you for sharing that story. And I think we look forward to hear more from your story about your own realization. And it might seem like it's an uphill battle, or, we're not miracle workers, nor are we tasked to all of a sudden turn this death situation into life. That's not what we do. What we do is what we can take what we have now and make the best use of it. That last moment, wherever you are in the palliative care or hospice, or even when they're healthy, you know that you did within that 10 minutes of interaction, you planted that seed, and you should be happy about that. You should be joyous about that. Whether that was the last 10 minutes or there was a 10 minutes out of, 50 more years of life, but you did it in that 10 minutes. What makes that last 10 minutes more precious was because, well, it's coming to the new life. But whether it's the new life or the next morning, it's the same. It's the same seed. So don't feel, because we're not here to change life and death. That's not what we do. But we are here to plant that seed, to bring that little bit of hope. And that hope wasn't like, oh, I'm going to get better. No, it's not. But it's the hope that warmth, caring, affinity, and this positivity and this compassion, that's, I think, really the key. Okay? So that's my very sincere feeling toward what Brother Eric said. Thank you.
Cảm ơn.
Cảm ơn to all Pusa, cảm ơn Brother Joe, cảm ơn Brother Kaihwa, all our brothers and sisters who have shared their insights and their questions. Very cảm ơn. Yeah, Brother Eric, we look forward to your sharing. It's always very heartfelt, very not easy journey, but you are really a teacher, truly agree. 好感恩菩萨 for lots of heartfelt and wisdom sharing. We will meet each other again tomorrow. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for your presence and your support today. We understand that many are having other programs also today, so very grateful that you could make it despite everything. Hope that each of us could sustain the Dharma joy and take in another piece of Dharma Master and fall in love to our life. Let us invite Brother Joe to lead us in paying homage to Buddha and Master. Let us please make 3 bows to the Buddha and Dharma Master as we depart to apply these teachings in our daily life. Let us pay our respects to our teachers of life, universal truth. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Cảm ơn brothers and sisters. See everyone tomorrow morning. Cảm ơn.
And bye-bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night. Good night. Tomorrow we'll have Brother Johan to share. Please do not miss. Very great session. Of course, Brother Joe. Cảm ơn.
No, he's a lot better looking than the actor that plays him. Okay, so.
We look forward to his sharing, but only, I think not enough. Maybe we'll have session 2 next time, hopefully. Definitely.
Yeah.
Cảm ơn. See everyone tomorrow. Cảm ơn.
Bye.
Cảm ơn. Bye. Thank you, Sister Lily.